Welcome to the Sweet 16 of the Elestriad. Our top casters battled it out for their divine pantheons and only half of the competition remains. DistantCoder, representing Aeolus and the Wind Pantheon, looks for the wind to blow his way against SuperInsaiyan, representing Artemis and the Lunar Pantheon. Will the Mirage Pharogeist curse DistantCoder to the shadows? Stay tuned, and don't forget to check out the Moonrise reveals as we count down to pre-orders opening on November 15th. Shattered Stars members get early access the day before, and the Scorpio month is insanely epic. Now let's hear from DistantCoder on what his win-based strategy is going to be here for week 2.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Coder once again back. We managed to win round 1, which was not easy, definitely not easy. And I think round 2 is not going to be a whole lot easier if I'm being super honest. I'm playing in SuperInsaiyan, a lunar caster, so his options are to either play Pharogeist or Draking, both decks that terrify me. But I built a deck that I think is about as powerful as it gets, so let's just get into the list. And instead of putting everything just in order, I'm going to put the cards together in order of basically their functionality, their utility. So I'm going to start off with consistency cards. I played 3 Astrabbit, 3 Nectar of the Gods, and 3 Aeolus to make sure that I get to the cards that I need. These cards are just entirely for consistency, and they make sure that the cards that I need to see, I will see when I need to see them. So 9 cards to get me to other cards that are good. And then, after that, I am playing the aggro cards, and that's 2 Exaltair, 2 Toxiswarm, and a Galaxair. Basically, the purpose of these cards are to deal damage or allow me to basically make a big push. Galaxair, not so much, but these deal a lot of damage together, especially if you manage to stick both. And Galaxair is like a mix of removal and aggro, so for that reason, I put it in my aggro cards. And then after that is the cards that make sure I stay alive. 3 Quackle, 3 Nemesail, 3 Ambrosia to make sure that I do not die. As long as I'm alive, I don't lose the game. So these cards make sure that I get to live for longer, and as long as I'm alive, I'm alive. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, we are playing lots of removal. 3 Verituka, 3 Boombat, Earthquake, Resting, triple Cryo Blast, and then on top of that, 3 Shield, 3 PTA. This is all essentially like effectively removal, right? So at the end of the day, I'm playing all of this to make sure that he can never stick a guy, because if he can't stick a guy, he can't get the Draking, and if he can't stick a guy, he can't get the Pharogeist. So this is going to be the main game plan. So the idea is to never let him stick a guy, and if he doesn't stick a guy and I stick a guy, I am winning the game. Off to the spirits. I think this is the exact same spirit count as I played last week. 3, sorry, this is not in order. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 wind, 5 thunder, 2 earth, and 2 frost. Yeah, very standard stuff. The 5 thunder is fine because you have Quackle to heal it up, and then the 11 wind that I have to play for my Pantheon. So that's that. And then this time I brought a side deck. I was scared. My side deck's really bad. 3 Poison Nectar, 3 Pandora's Box. This is just in case he's playing something that would like turbo draw, this to negate the draws, and this to negate like any searches. I guess like a Pharogeist, these can come in because like he'll probably play Drops of Leaf and stuff, and like this for maybe like a Plucky or an Elechick to search his Divine Rune. And then if he's playing Draking, I got the Argo package, so 3 Argo, 2 Necklace, to make it so that my 3 attack guys can beat over his Draking. This is like kind of expensive, but it's fine, and it could also come into Pharogeist because I don't have an out to Pharogeist, like a good out, other than like monster pops or like removal and stuff like that. So there's a world where I like Necklace of Harmonia his Pharogeist so that he takes 2 burn at the end of every turn, of every of his turns. So there's a world that I can just kill him with that. And then there's 3 Gorgon's Gaze for like utility just in case, and I put another Thunder Spirit because I didn't know what to put in. I figured if I'm cutting on my like I don't know, my Frost stuff or whatever, if he's playing a deck that Cryo Blast is bad into, I get to put an extra Zaptor. I needed a 15th card. I didn't know what to put. So that's going to be the deck, and here's hoping that we can clutch out a win against SuperInsaiyan. Good luck to you, buddy.
DistantCoder is going back to the tried and true heavy removal and heal strategy from week 1. This best of 3 clash is going to come down to who can maintain their tempo. SuperInsaiyan, what's your game plan with Lunar? Are you bringing Draking?
What is up, Elestriad? SuperInsaiyan 18 here once again with our deck profile for week 2 of the Elestriad. As you saw in the last one, we were able to beat our opponent Iron Boffin, and this week we are against DistantCoder on Wind. Definitely a formidable opponent as well as matchup, so let's go ahead and show you guys the deck profile. Going to be a little bit quick here. We are actually on Pharogeist this time around. So hopefully we can get this to stick, because if we can, Wind has absolutely no out. Of course, pairing with the Pharogeist, we have the baby form Kathmel because we want to be able to heal, and this is a very hard card for them to out as well, because when they do out it, if they can, I will just heal all of my spirits back. We are on 3 copies of Plucky to search our Artemis, because Artemis is a much bigger part of the deck this week around. Now, you might be questioning why we're not playing Fawnlet, which is one of the new Lunar cards we were allotted to play in this event. This is just better because of the 4 stat line, so unfortunately Fawnlet does have to take a backseat this time around. We are on 2 copies of Spectus and 1 copy of Gloombat. Then we are on 3 copies of Viscerus. Now, the Viscerus is actually because we can run something over with one of them, misenchant one with a Lunar, and then ascend it on our next turn into something like our Pharogeist, potentially. And then finishing up the Elestrals, we have 3 copies of Astrabbit for just added consistency, as well as 5 just being a stat that Wind really cannot get over. We are still on our 3 copies of Ambrosia because we want to be able to heal as much as possible. And here we are on 2 copies of Nectar and 2 copies of Leave. We did bump these down from 3 and 3 in our last week's profile because this is possibly a burn matchup. Wind burn is a very real threat, so we don't want to be spending a lot of spirits that we don't necessarily need to. We are on 3 copies of Circle the Sky because we want to be able to Nexus things from our Artemis to our monsters, or rather our Elestrals. That way we can easily ascend them, which brings us into our 2 copies of Artemis. As promised, I would be bumping it up. We are then on 3 copies of Gorgon's Gaze, 3 copies of Poison Tip, 2 Altars. This again works with our Nexus strategy, and then 2 copies of Shield of Achilles. This is in case my opponent decides to do something like Pen Terror, just so that we have an out. So now let's show you guys the spirits. We are on our 11 lunar spirits, same as last week. Again, we just have to fit them in with the confines of the Elestriad. Then we have, I believe it's 5 Luminape. Yep, 5 Luminape, 2 Zaptor, and 2 Teratlus. This is so that we can use our Viscerus relatively well. And then finishing up the deck profile for the side deck, we are on 3 copies of Lumaru. This is in case my opponent tries to do a Wind heal strategy, 5 being a stat that they have a hard time outing, as well as being able to mill their cards and potentially healers can be absolutely huge. We are on double Boombat in case our opponent does take something like a Pantera strategy. We are on double Nobby because, again, just a really hard stat for Wind to clear. Double Cryo Blast because pretty much every Wind Elestral just folds to this card. We have the 3rd Shield of Achilles in case they are on Pantera. 1 Resting on Your Laurels. Double Pandora's Box in case I'm going first. This just completely ruins Aeolus in and of itself. And a couple of spirits to fit with what we are siding as well. So that's the deck profile. Hopefully we can take this one home and make it into the top 8. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
Listen, I love the Circle the Sky strategy with Artemis to turbo into Pharogeist. Ultimately, if SuperInsaiyan can just land an Astrabbit or Plucky for 1 turn against Coder's heavy removal, Pharogeist can do insane amounts of work. Don't forget, Pharogeist applies a curse to the opponent and forces them to expend a spirit every time they cast a card. Not only that, but it's immune to Shield of Achilles and it can't be destroyed in battle. Will SuperInsaiyan channel the mystifying power of Pharogeist, or will DistantCoder see through the mirage with his myriad of removal? Sweet 16 starts right now. Alright, we are kicking this one off. DistantCoder going for the mulligan to start kicking away 2 Lycaris to his Underworld to find a new 5-card hand. Casters are able to do this as many times as they want to start the clash, but it does cost 2 spirits each time. We see some decks opting to do this, tossing a few spirits to the Underworld, understanding they can recover them back later. And with DistantCoder rocking cards like Nemisail, he has an opportunity to do that. Nectar of the Gods from SuperInsaiyan, gonna draw 2 additional cards and get his lunar strategy kicked off, but it does look like he went for an expend to draw to find an additional card. Obviously, he's running a very combo-oriented deck, looking to establish Artemis to the field and then utilize Circle the Sky to move those lunar spirits onto another Elestral and ultimately ascend into Pharogeist. Nemisail sees the field here for DistantCoder, healing those 2 wind spirits back, exactly what we anticipated, and then gets a nice chip shot off for 1 spirit of damage, and this plays right into Coder's game plan. Exactly what he's trying to execute here is get the Nemisail out, start this heal process. It is a huge threat with Nexus, and if there's an opportunity to stick an Aeolus and an Exaltair here, things get really dicey. Very fast for SuperInsaiyan, but he finds Viscerus, and this is really big because Viscerus allows him to put on immediate pressure. If Coder's face down counter rune is not a response, that Nemisail is going down, and a second Viscerus will hit the field. It seems as though with 2 back row on Insaians, and he does connect onto the Nemisail. That is a very, very big play for SuperInsaiyan, as he's going to stick and establish his second Viscerus. It does get special cast into defense position, so it's not going to be able to put on any offensive pressure this turn, but very, very good, especially with 2 face down runes. But the Cryo Blast from DistantCoder immediately being able to take out the attack position Viscerus, the most threatening one, which also removes potential Nexus. It removes the fact that, you know, now you have to just, and he's got the second Cryo Blast. My goodness, I cannot believe it. The double Cryo Blast from DistantCoder, completely wiping SuperInsaiyan's board, has the freedom now to expend to draw and find another answer. Huge plays there. Cryo Blast basically brought into the metagame after the limiting of Earthquake, and resting on your laurels becomes a big, big threat in those situations. The thing is, it doesn't do well against Solar, but it does really well against Lunar and a lot of the other elements that have 2 defense or less on their offensive Elestrals. The Elestrals that generally creep up towards like 5 attack. Plucky here comes out, gets the Divine, Galaxair hits the field, and the Galaxair is actually going to be able to swap the stats of this Plucky, so it's going to become a 1 defense Elestral if SuperInsaiyan doesn't have a response here. Galaxair, a very interesting tech option from DistantCoder, can be really reliable in a lot of ways because it's able to swap those stats and hit over things. But the Gorgon's Gaze is going to come into play here from SuperInsaiyan. That is going to shut down the Galaxair's effect and essentially stop it from attacking this turn, which is really important for SuperInsaiyan's game plan, as he's looking to ensure that he can Nexus onto his Plucky or continue to establish a board here and be able to set up those Ascensions. Calfmel going to be the cast here. Calfmel gives you the opportunity and the flexibility to recover both Lunar and Solar Spirits, but we're going to see a Shield of Achilles here from DistantCoder, bouncing it right back to hand. And now we're going to be in a very similar situation we were to the last turn, where Galaxair threatens the Plucky and could potentially force face down rune activation on SuperInsaiyan's side. He does have 2 face down runes, and it looks like we'll see, is there going to be any sort of play here from DistantCoder? It's going to be the Exaltair. If he's able to combo this with an Aeolus, things start to get really, really hairy for SuperInsaiyan. But the Poison Tipped Arrow, a very well-timed counter rune there, that is going to drop the attack of the Exaltair down to 1, but it's also going to remove it from the field in the end phase. So very valuable play there. And unfortunately, unless SuperInsaiyan has another back row response here, he is losing his Plucky, and he will still take 1 Spirit of damage from that Exaltair. And that looks like what we're going to see happen here. That Spirit's going to go down, and SuperInsaiyan's going to have an opportunity here to make a response, but does lose a couple Spirits there. We're going to see the Calfmel hit the field. It was bounced back on the previous turn. And the Poison Tipped Arrow from DistantCoder, that's really, really good timing on that counter rune, because now he's going to be left with an empty field. Calfmel obviously does have the ability to regenerate spirits on its Ascension and also its Destruction. So there's going to be some big plays there. We're going to see the Poison Tipped Arrow take effect, and then we're going to see SuperInsaiyan grab 3 spirits back from his Underworld. So not a terrible trade, right? Calfmel provides a lot of value in that way, but that's not where SuperInsaiyan wants to be, right? His game plan is he's got to stick in Elestral, and he's got to be able to find those combo pieces to get out to Pharogeist. The good news for him is he still has enough spirit room to execute that game plan, but as DistantCoder drops Aeolus to the field here, things start to get really scary, because if another Exaltair comes out, that's where the big damage starts to come in, and he's going to actually go Nemisail. So DistantCoder chooses to grab the Nemisail, looking to try to get some more spirits going, but he has the Exaltair as well, so he's got it all. The question is, ooh, another Poison Tipped Arrow, but you know what? This is still going to get some big damage off here for Coder. Depends on how aggressive he wants to be. Does he have counter runes? Going to go all in on the Galaxair. That is a big, big play there. This could deal a lot of damage. SuperInsaiyan takes 2 spirits from the Exaltair, and here comes the onslaught of attacks. That's 4 spirits charging into the spirit deck of SuperInsaiyan. This is going to be wild. He's going to have to take them too. He takes all 4 spirits of damage. and he is going to have to expend for the poison-tipped arrow in the end phase if he wants to get rid of the Exaltair, which that's a whole nother thing, because then he's down to just one spirit. So DistantCoder's been able to execute his game plan here of getting that Exaltair out and start to put on heavy pressure, and you saw just how much pressure there was there. But he chooses not to go PTA. He gets another Calf Mel out, which is quite interesting because Calf Mel can give him 3 spirits back if he plays this right. I think in hindsight, oh man, the problem is you can't crash into the Galaxair. You can't crash into the Exaltair either. You have to kind of find a way to get some rune play in there, but it looks like he is going to scoop this one. The Galaxair provided so much pressure. The double Cryo Blast was huge, right? That was where we saw this game get flipped upside down. The double Cryo Blast taking out the double Viscerus there, and then from there, Coder was able to establish the Galaxair, protect it, and then get that Exaltair out there, and it was GG's. So let's see what these two casters are going to do going into game 2, whether they're going to dive into their side decks, how that's going to change their game plans, and let's see if SuperInsaiyan can bounce back, because we never saw the Pharogeist at the field. He was never able to establish that board, and interestingly enough, we never really saw Coder use a ton of that removal outside of those Cryo Blasts. All right, here we are. We're going into game 2 here. SuperInsaiyan going to kick this one off with an aggressive play. The Spectus coming out. Spectus does have the ability to suppress opposing Elestrals effects and get +1 attack every time it does so. A very offensive Elestral. Cryo Blast strikes the field once again. Just like we saw its Nexus form Viscerus in game 1, get Cryo Blast to Oblivion. Now it is going to be the Spectus get Cryo Blast. Here comes Astrabit though. This is a really advantageous play from Coder. He's going to be able to grab an extra resource from the top 3 cards of his deck and pressure an additional spirit here. That tells me he has some sort of back row support. We'll have to see what that looks like, because you generally aren't going to throw your rabbit in attack position unless you feel like you can protect it. So might be a Shield of Achilles, but he does get 1 spirit of damage here, and that really is what he's trying to do. Every spirit of damage matters because he can heal some back, while SuperInsaiyan is going to be, you know, kind of burning through those spirits. But that changes so fast when Pharogeist hits the field. So we'll have to see if he's able to get that going. Viscerus comes out this time. So we saw the Spectres. Now we see the Viscerus. I love that stained glass art. You got to say, it's absolutely phenomenal. The Viscerus going to be able to obviously pressure the Astrabit here. The question is, what is the face down rune? I think it's probably a shield. We'll have to see. It's going to be that Shield of Achilles. So Shield of Achilles is going to bounce back the Viscerus. It was very clear that there was some sort of protection there. But if you're SuperInsaiyan, your play is the same. You gotta force those counter runes out. You want to get rid of them now. And if you're Coder, you're feeling good. You might not realize that Pharogeist is a strategy yet, but the fact is he's been able to take advantage of using shield early in this game. So Rabbit does get another enchant, obviously providing more advantage there, choosing to go to defense position because he doesn't have the back row support right now. We're gonna see the Plucky come out for SuperInsaiyan. That'll allow him to grab that Artemis, which is really big, right? This is gonna give him the piece that he needs to be able to not only shut off effects if he opts to go that route, but really most importantly, get Lunar Spirits onto the field to allow that Turbo Ascension into Pharogeist. This is the setup you want if you're SuperInsaiyan. It is a little early in this clash. I think the best time to stick and land that Pharogeist is probably towards the mid clash when you get Coder down to around the 7, 8, 9 spirit range. That's where you can really take advantage. But man, oh man, that Galaxair is putting in the work in this one. It seems to find the field at the right opportunity every single time. Coder taking advantage of the spirits on field, deciding, you know what, I don't have counter rune support right now. I'm not going to put my rabbit in attack position. Oh, I am. I guess he does have it. So he just pulls the spirit off the rabbit. I feel like I'd probably leave it on there, but it looks like it's a wise play because the Shield of Achilles comes in and it does bounce back the rabbit. But I will say, bouncing an Astrabit is not, that's not the play you want, right? You never really want to bounce an Astrabit because it just comes back out and it gets to use its effect again for free, right? So we'll have to see here. Here comes the Viscerus, though, immediately threatening the Galaxair. Perhaps SuperInsaiyan's thought process was, let me bounce the rabbit so that way, I can guarantee my Viscerus is able to destroy something. So it ends up, I guess, working out in that play. So we're going to see the Cryo Blast come back, though. my goodness, Cryo Blast here is going to take out the Viscerus, and that was a misenchanted Viscerus from SuperInsaiyan's side there. And he gets Cryo Blasted, and another one. It's just been incredible how strong that card has been for DistantCoder. We're going to see an Astravid hit the field again. This is exactly what we were saying, and just grabbing that card advantage, getting to look at 3 cards, add 1 to your hand. Very, very valuable there. And of course, 1 Spirit of chip damage there into SuperInsaiyan. And the Astravid's looking very strong. But listen, we know that we're looking for the combo here. The Pharogeist could put on so much pressure. We're going to see a drops of Leath. So he's not happy with some of the cards in his hand, or he's got a few duplicates. It's possible he's drawn into 2 Artemis and doesn't want to see those. Let's see if he's going to reveal what he's got. He's going to use some lunar spirit, or solar spirits rather, which obviously he can recover with the Calf Mal. So that's no problem at all. And he's going to go and toss back a PTA and a Circle of the Sky. So very interesting to see him throw back the PTA and the Circle of the Sky back to his deck. That's going to allow him to draw 3 cards, though. So we'll have to see what he's going to pull out of that. All right, so he's going to grab those 3 cards from the top of his deck. Throwing back the Circle of the Sky, that makes me wonder if he already has one, or maybe he's not looking to execute that game plan at this point. Let's see, the Calf Mal going to hit the field. Try to provide some defensive pressure, or presence rather, to also allow him to heal back some spirits, buy some time. It's unclear whether that was in his hand or that was what he was drawing. Maybe he really just felt like he needed an Elestral. Coder, with so much healing, has the flexibility to play a Nectar of the Gods here. That's going to get him 2 draws off the top of his deck, and obviously more advantage, more card advantage, which is what he's looking for, because if he's now able to, you know, play... Oh, man, what is he? He's going for an Ascension here. Is it going to be the Boom Bat? It's going to be the Boom Bat Ascension. This is a really cool play. This is going to put a lot of pressure on SuperInsaiyan here, because what he just did is he went over his Astravid to get Boom Bat to the field with 2 spirits on it. You generally don't think of ascending into a 1-cost Celestial, but you can do that. You can ascend a 3-cost Celestial into a 1-cost Celestial, and he does that with the Boom Bat here to get 2 spirits on it, so he can disenchant from it. He can destroy the Calf Mal, he can attack, and then, you know, obviously there's some healing going on there, but it's still a tremendous amount of advantage, and you immediately threaten the same play on the next turn, which creates this loop. And if he has a counter rune here, if there's anything that can stop this Spectrus like a Gorgon's, it's going to actually be a shield. I think, yeah, I mean, either one works, because now you can cast another Elestral to the field, so the Spectrus gets bounced back, and Coder's heavy removal strategy has worked to a T in this clash. He's prevented SuperInsaiyan from establishing any sort of a field, and now he's just putting it on, like piling it on here with the Quackle that's going to heal 3 spirits. And if you're SuperInsaiyan, I feel like it's got to just be a matter of not finding the combo pieces, because we know he's found the Artemis, right? But he threw back the Circle of the Sky. He's been immediately pressured again, hasn't really been able to keep an Elestral on the field for more than a turn. So it's been very, very tough. And the Galaxair putting on so much pressure, and now Boom Bat and Quackle gonna deal 2 spirits of damage. I don't think all hope is lost here. I think there is some opportunities for him to come back, but not with a poison-tipped arrow. That's gonna be really tough, because now you're gonna lose your Spectrus in the end phase anyway. So again, not able to continue to keep an Elestral on the field, and it's been so rough. But he is gonna clear the Boom Bat. That's gonna be off the field. He'll lose his Spectrus here. We'll see if DistantCoder finds another Elestral. I think best case scenario for Insane is he doesn't, and he expends to draw here, just so he has a chance to try to establish a field. And if Coder's looking for more removal, he'll do that. But this is actually maybe worst case scenario. Toxic Swarm is going to be the cast that's going to immediately burn for 1 spirit, and DistantCoder is just draining at the spirit deck of SuperInsaiyan, hitting it at all angles. Going to hit for 2 more spirits here, and there's not even a response, right? You could argue use Tsunami here, but you're just taking 1 less spirit. SuperInsaiyan is going to need to find something big here. He's going to need some Ambrosias, I think, at this point, but he will go out with the Solar Spirit with the Calf Mal in defense. The good news here is that the 4 defense does hold up to the Toxic Swarm. The bad news is Coder is an Aeolus away from putting this game, just ending it right there. So, and there it is. Aeolus hits the field. 4 spirits. You're going to go search. You find the Exaltair. Exaltair is going to stick to this field, and it's going to Nexus onto the Toxic Swarm and burn for 3 spirits right there. That will put SuperInsaiyan down to 0 at this point in time. He does have the Calf Mal, and there is no way for Coder to attack over the Calf Mal. But SuperInsaiyan has nothing that he can actually do at this point outside of Ambrosia off of the Calf Mal. Does he have that play, or is this one over? DistantCoder executed flawlessly his game plan. Really incredible showing, but I think a lot of it too, I'm not convinced that SuperInsaiyan was able to find those combo pieces either way. And even if he was, this game too, he just never really had a chance to keep an Elestral on the field. The Cryo Blast was there every single time when Coder needed it, the PTAs, the shields. He hit everything, and it just made it very tough for SuperInsaiyan to even try to get it going. It seems as though this one is going to end right here, and DistantCoder is going to take this one with an incredible, incredible W, a 2-0 here in the Sweet 16 of the Elestriad. Very, very epic clash. Oh, and there we see the 3 Pharogeist in his hand. That's rough. You definitely don't want to draw 3 of those. That's a rough one, man. And there's all the removal from Coder. He had it all. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was a crazy clash. Great plays there from Coder, and some tough draws there, I think, for SuperInsaiyan as well. Make sure you guys stay tuned for tomorrow as we got another epic one. I'll see y'all then.